my friend sitting out there, it is indeed my pleasure to be invited to give this keynote address. 3 words are today very difficult for me, because I certainly do not seem to be having the key to the mind locks that you may have put for yourself. I certainly am very scared of the word notes in an area which is right now demonetized in the currency market. So I don't have the notes. And certainly by now you are aware that I have I have left my job, as a consequence of which I don't have an address. So I really don't know how to give you this keynote address. But I will try within whatever is available and known to me on the basis of my knowledge and experience to share with you what I really think about this subject of how do you do this complex people management in a far more complex world which is changing at a pace that you don't know. But before that, I certainly want to share with you a very beautiful quote of Fayaz, which is very relevant in the context. He says, "Ab ranjishon se ulajhne ka banaye rakhiye hausla." Ranjish, conflicts, fights. "Ab ranjishon se ulajhne ka banaye rakhiye hausla, kyunki badalti hawa hi karti hai chiragon ka faisla." We are living in a world where the shimmer of the spark is not determined by the shimmer by itself, but by its ability to stand and continue shimmering against the force of the blowing winds. The winds of change that are coming are such that unless and until the spark has the ability to bear the blow of the wind, it will not survive. It is in this world that we need to remember that we are living in a world of what the economists say is a world of punctuated equilibrium. What does that mean? Millions of years of evolution of mankind, and if you get into the history of that, thousands of years you will see change happening in the history, but at a very slow pace. So therefore, if you were to draw a graph of that slow pace, it will go like something like this: slow, 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 changes happening, slow, 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 changes are happening. And then millions of years of such slow growth comes across a wedge. And in that wedge, so many changes happen that by the time you realize something is happening, a new thing is happening, a change is happening. And then again, around millions of years, when a predominant technology emerges during this period, around that new technology, millions of years of slow change happens. And that is the wedge in which new technologies are defined. When you say Stone Age, Iron Age, Paper Age, those are ages which created those wedges around which new technologies at that point of time developed. And the peculiarity is that those technologies initially come in the way in which people create their livelihood and slowly permeates into the life of people, such that the digital world which we thought was going to make life easy at work, today is the technology you will use at home when you are driving close to your house and you are calling up the Internet of Things and telling your air conditioner, communicating with your air conditioner, please go back to my desired temperature of 23 by the time I come to the room. And that's when changes are happening. What are the things that you will see that happens during this wedge? And that's when you say shifting of the paradigm, it is during this paradigm that the entire shift of things is happening. When paradigms change, everything becomes zero. All the things, processes, programs, procedures that prevailed in a period of time prior to the wedge, all become zero. Unmatchable speed, uncertain situations, disruptive changes, unpredictable future, ambiguity all around, and those who learn how to thrive on chaos and succeed in the wedge are the people who will lead for millions of years thereafter in the period that follows the period of wedge. And that is why it is called the period of punctuated equilibrium. Punctuated by a wedge in which those changes are happening at a very fast pace, followed by millions of years of steady state growth. It's funny. ये मंजिल कि काफिले भी कुछ ऐसे हैं, कमबख्त वहीं से गुजरते हैं जहाँ रास्ते नहीं। Just when you have got the answer, someone has changed the question. Just when you have found the key, you will find that someone has not only changed the lock, but has changed the door itself. Just when you thought you have come out of the depression and the downturn and you have found equation to your working capital, someone goes and demonetizes the currency. And that's the situation that we are going to continue to face. Look at this, and we believe this is theory, we believe that this is very good to stand up on stages and give speeches, and these are good episodes to talk about, but look at what has happened in the last 6 months in our lives. And you will realize that this change that we are talking about and the pace of uncertainty that we are talking about is not theory, it is hitting you without your realization. Look at last 6 months. How many of you would have believed that Britain, the propounder of the European Union, would walk itself and elect itself out of Brexit? How many would have believed that Tata Sons would have actually thrown out the chairman of Tata Sons? How many of you have really believed a few weeks ago that Trump could become the president of America? And how many of you would believe that after 50 years in the world, India will become the third country in the world only to demonetize 85% of its existing currencies? These are therefore the real fast-paced changes that are hitting you. It is not theory, VUCA is not theory, VUCA is hitting you. Please wake up, don't be a Rip Van Winkle who goes to sleep. Because if you are a Rip Van Winkle who goes to sleep and wakes up after 20 years, I promise you, all the king's horses and all the king's men cannot put that Humpty Dumpty back again. You've lost your time. Let us look at the 6 critical elements of what economic value creation activity in the market happens and see what the changes are. What are the 6 elements that you normally say are the value creating activities? You talk about what is a market, you talk about ownerships, you talk about competition, you talk about supply chain, you talk about money as a currency of exchange. And now let us see what is happening on all of these 6 fronts to say that if these 6 fronts are changing, then how can people, the prime value creator of value in a commercial transaction, continue to be managed in the same way when the 6 basic elements of what operates in the market itself is changing at a different pace? Let's look at the boundary. You define a market physically. Generally, there are multiple ways to define a boundary or a market, but generally accepted norm is a physical or a geographic place around which your customers lie, around which you do the value creation activity. But now look at what's happening. The vodka you drink is Russian. The car you drive is German. Of course, you don't drink in Gujarat. That's a different story. Of course, you do drink. The car you drive is German. The vodka you drink is Russian. The pizza you eat is Italian. The kebabs you eat is Turkish. The coffee you drink at Starbucks is Brazilian. The shirt you wear is Bangladeshi. The oil you get is Saudi Arabian. And let me shock by saying that if someone is wearing a Banarasi sari, it is not made in India, it is made in China. 47% of Banarasi saris in India are made in China, unknown to you. And that is the pace at which the markets are breaking their barriers and coming into a new zone where geography is not the definition of the market. So let's look at it. Market as a concept is changing. Let's look at the other concept of ownership, because we always believe that people who are doing business should own the businesses and the assets that generate the value. Let's look at what's happening in the world. Uber, the largest taxi company, does not own a single taxi. Airbnb, the largest accommodation provider, owns no real estate in the world. Skype, the largest telephone company, has no infrastructure in the world. Alibaba, the most valuable retailer, has no inventory at all. Apple and Google, who are the largest vendors of software, do not write any applications. So it is no longer true, as the market is opening for the largest players or even the middle players to actually own the assets which create value in the business. And that has changed the concept. Market has changed, ownership has changed. Sorry, okay. Let's look at what is happening on other forms of ownership. It is no longer only the owner who has to own it. Today it can be a PE fund which is owning the company. It could be a distress fund that can be owning the company. It can be a hedge fund that's owning the company. It could be a bridge fund company which is owning the company. So no longer it is true that he who only was the founder of the company or the driver of the company is the owner of the company. It could be multiple options in which the owner of the company or the business could be different. Look at supply chain. E-retailing has changed the whole model of market supply chain. It is no longer your company, someone else's company is supplying someone else's order in someone else's software to your customers' restaurants. So the entire concept of supply chain is changing. Concept of money is changing. We thought that barter economy was replaced by the money economy. Suddenly you find plastic economy coming in, mobile economy coming in, and we are now talking of generating a cashless economy to be in the market. And that's the change in which the money aspect is changing. Competition is changing. All along when I was in Coca-Cola, we used to believe that Pepsi was our competition, which it never was, but I believe it. Because our main customers, who were the college students who were spending their pocket money on buying beverages, started buying SIM cards out of that money and they were not buying our Coca-Cola. So the question of Pepsi being your competitor was not there at all. Someone else was your competitor. So these are the 6 elements. Look at it. Market is changing, ownership is changing. You don't need to own your assets. Supply chain is totally different. Money is changing its concept. Competitor is changing. The whole shape of market is got to change. How can then people who are the prime creators of value continue to be managed in the same old way which you used to manage in the past times when things were different? Weapons of yesterday cannot be new wars of tomorrow. You will have to learn to change and soothe and change your program styles, people, processes to be able to cope with a given situation. Whilst everyone says that PE factor, the profit earning or the price equity factor is the determinant of the valuation of the company, they tend to forget that the P and the E capital is for the people who create the value. Because unless and until you have in your organization the right talent, and this is where we all HR guys also make a mistake and the employers don't like us. We love to substitute labels and keep calling everybody working in the organization as talent. We replaced the word first people management to HR management, and we thought we had some magical solution, so everyone became human resources. After that we changed and we called everyone talent, and we believe that everyone in the organization is talent, so we have found another magic to manage it. And that's where the folly lies. Talent is that cutting edge in your people which really can create value for you. Your ability is to focus on the 5% cutting edge of the knife and not the 95% spreading edge of the knife. Let me tell you a latest statistics, and I keep quoting it very often. The Michigan University econometric projection of changes in organizations is saying, and you will be shocked, how many jobs in 2025 on an average will people change in the world? Any guesses? Can you throw any number? Current, what is the number? Average world. Current is 4, average is 4. And by that year, what is the econometric projection of how many jobs on an average will be changed in the world? And this will shock you. The average changes to be made in the world will be 35. Now, who is going to have a problem? You design your organizational systems for a lifelong employment. When a man joins you at 18, you think he's going to retire at 85. You have designed your organization flow of people management and manpower planning on an imagination that he's going to be out there, and the inventory is going to take 35 turns. And every time the man is going, you are at a loss to say, "Ab meri company ka kya hoga?" Problem is you. Who told you to design and continue to work on the same old manpower planning processes and same old assumptions that people will stay lifelong in the organization? And therefore they change. SR is a balance sheet line for people. SR is a balance sheet line for furniture, fixtures and other money. Till they realize a few months ago that no, that line is changing. People have different aspirations. They want to grow in their careers. They want to do different things in life. They want to become cutting-edge consultants. And thus the problem is that we continue to manage our people and our talent by wrong definitions in the same old way that we were managing when times were steady and constant. And when the wedge has created a change, we are unable to change the situation. There are only 6 jobs that HR does, irrespective of the time. If anyone says HR does the 7th job, I will lose my 35 years of experience in the role. HR does only the 6 G jobs. Get, give, grow, guide, and govern. Get, give, grow, guide, and govern. And how do you continue to do that? How do you bespoke it? How do you get it in a different way of social media? How do you do your employer branding in the world of digitalization? How do careers emerge in this? I was talking to someone who says my son doesn't want, last evening, who said my son doesn't want to join my business and I am shocked about it because he says he wants to be a cocktail mixer. So we are living in that world where new opportunities, new web designing alternatives, television acting opportunities and all these new domains of careers which never existed for us. તમને તમારા બાપુજીએ SSC પછી કીધું હશે કે સાયન્સમાં જાઓ, કોમર્સમાં જાઓ કે આર્ટમાં જાઓ. But if you went and told him that I want to be a cocktail mixer, I can imagine what kind of shock he would have. Or I want to be a DJ, wearing a earring in my ear. But that's the reality of the marketplace. If you want to be a dinosaur, corporate graveyards are full of the tombstones of organizations which did not change with time, which continue to manage business the same old ways that they used to continue, and therefore they have become tombstones in the graveyard, which said they were great companies once upon a time, did not change with time, and therefore they have become corporate graveyards. Concept of loyalty is changing. No longer number of years you put into an organization is called loyalty, because if mediocre talent continues to be in your organization for the longest period of time and you have allowed it to continue in your organization for longest period of time, not because it wanted to stay, because no one else wanted to take it, and every day morning you pray that thank God I still have my job, and like that 35 years have passed, that's not concept of loyalty. Concept of loyalty is that you are such a cutting edge talent that there are 5 companies every day running after you, and you by choice say, no, I want to work with that employer. That is the concept of loyalty, which is real loyalty, not passage of time. Concept of loyalty is changing. Sticky networks are becoming teams, and therefore the role of leadership is also changing. I always keep telling, and of course it's part of my publicity, to say if you really want to become an effective leader, remember my name. Malia. What does that stand for? Most admirable leaders influence action. If leaders cannot influence action, then they have no reason to be leaders. You know, what is a leader supposed to do? Work? His job is to influence action from the organization. Therefore, if you want to be an admirable leader, you will have to learn to influence action, because the concept of power has shifted. No longer is anyone in your organization going to listen to you because you are the most powerful man in the organization. But if you are able to use your convincing experiences, you are able to explain to him why he needs to do differently or why he needs to contribute to the value creation journey, that ability to influence is going to be the prime driver of successful leadership, and not he who holds power, but that power is he who holds influential power to create a change is going to be the leader of the future. Therefore, how do you learn to change yourself and become an influencing leader is one of the most important. The greatest thing, if I could tell anybody, and if I had children, luckily for me I don't have children, but if I had a son or a daughter who asked me, Tell me what is that one thing I should master in this changing environment. There is no one answer I could actually give it. Because knowledge, if I give, is outdating itself at such a fast pace that by the time you really master that knowledge, new research and new knowledge substitutes itself, as a consequence of which new knowledge obsoletes old knowledge at a pace that you can't even realize. What will you tell him is the knowledge you will tell him now? Internet is going to be replaced in the next 5 years by a new product that's being developed. What will you tell him? But if you were to tell him that one thing, I would say, learn to be a learner. Learn to learn, because that's the most important ability, and that rule itself has changed. Because it is no longer remembering what you were taught, but your ability to forget what you were taught and learn the new thing is the most important quality. And all of us grew up thinking that we have to remember what we have taught. But the fact is that you have to remember it for the while till it is of use, quickly learn to forget it, and learn the new thing that's coming in. It's only then that your rigidity will become less and you will be able to become masters of change. And that is the change that I would say. Learn to be a learner, and that's very important. 6 things the digital world is doing which you in HR need to be mastering very quickly. Otherwise you are going to do the 50-year-old dinosaurus HR activities in your organizations. Number 1, do evidence-based HR. Most importantly, do evidence-based HR, which means understand the strategy of the business. Understand how business is creating value. Don't go and tell him that you know 15 things in HR which were taught to you, therefore you have a solution which is in search of a problem. Don't be a solution in search of a problem. Understand the problem, understand how the strategy of business is working, understand what business needs, and do evidence-based HR, which is linked to the strategy. Number 2, insightful bespoke practices. Don't come and tell me what SR did, don't come and tell me what Reliance did. I had a long chat once upon a time with Mukesh Ambani, and for 4 years he said, Adil, the problem I find with most HR guys is that you have got world-class models, you have a GE model, you have a Coca-Cola model. I don't want in my organization that model to operate. I want that there is a certain peculiar model that works best in Reliance. Can you design, with all your knowledge and experience, a model that gives me future leaders who can survive and who are like the models of people who have survived in my organization? That is what I want. Bespoke. Can you bespoke those practices? The third most important thing you need to do in a digital world is build what is called organizational scholarships. No longer are owners who are most powerful, and they continue to be so knowledgeable that they know everything of the future world. Their experiences are of a world which is an old experience, which has gone out of shape, size and space. In the new world, they don't have experiences which are relevant. A problem most companies have. The forays of digitalization in most of the companies are currently managed by senior managers and leaders who unfortunately are digitally challenged. They understand nothing about digitalization, but they are controlling resources and power allocation. And they are deciding the future of digitalization, which they have no knowledge about. So can you bring in organizational scholarship where people within the organization develop that culture of listening to people, understanding a diatribe and a diverse perspective without creating skirmishes? So the idea is not to create a conflict and a skirmish, but the idea is to create a positive energy of contrarian ideas and develop an organizational scholarship where contrary ideas then develop what is the right space and what is the right solution for the organization. And that's what you need to do. ERP linked big data analysis is one of the most important things. Unless you analyze each one of us, each company and multiple companies have collected so much of data that you will be amazed at the kind of data that is collected. But that's where it unfortunately ends. The ERPs don't exist to link up all these data. Your financial systems are not linked to your payroll systems. Your HR systems are not linked to your payroll system. Your developmental systems are not linked to HR systems. And therefore, an entire ERP doesn't exist. And unfortunately, where these ERP systems exist, we do not have predictive analysis. We are not. What do I do with a post-mortem of data? Why I failed, you can calculate, and how far from the median I should prevail. Is your data and your ERP able to predict to me those critical nuances of people management That's when the business will start appreciating you. That's when you will be able to drive what we call evidence-based HR in your organizations. And the third most important thing, all your applications, all your algorithms, all your artificial intelligence should emotionally connect and intellectually stimulate your talent. It should do two things very critically. Don't give me data, don't give me analysis. If it does not emotionally connect with people or intellectually stimulate my people, because they continue, if you see the analytics of the insight of the millennials, they want to be intellectually stimulated and emotionally connected. And that is the driving point of your success. That's what you need to be doing. What therefore would I suggest to you, you should do? Should you change the organization? You say, my God, this is such a big challenge, I can't do anything. But the answer is very simple. Says Rumi in a translated quote, अपनी सोच को बदलो जानी सितारे अपने आप बदल